Good
vibrations
coming
soon
to
your
pleasure
and
pain
of
the one and only true.
living and breathing queerosexual love.
Welcome to another year of fun and another year of Kääpä Brothers. 2020 was one of the best years of our lives, and
I agree.
we really
I concur.
We're really sad actually that it's over. But now it's 2021. It doesn't roll off the tongue quite like 2020 did.
2021, 22, 23.
Well, welcome back. What, Alex? How are you feeling? How does it feel to be in the new year?
Well, this new year started off for me with the beginning of a new decade as well. I'm finally old enough to buy a bicycle helmet.
Just for the people who don't know, Alex has now turned 7, because you have to be 7 years old to make a contractual agreement, as in buying or purchasing something in a shop or in a store. And now Alex can do it with his own money, which he got by child labor, and he can spend it on a bicycle helmet. Now he finally can drive more safer to work, to his child labor work. I don't know why you're laughing. It's a serious subject.
I can just laugh at it by now, because it's so sad, it's so tragic.
Yeah.
Tragic.
You're sad. You're tragic. Yeah. Well.
Why are you always so mean?
How does it feel, Alex, to be in New Year? In case anyone was wondering, we were joking. Alex has actually turned 30 this year on the 3rd of January. Now everybody knows his birthday.
Damn. Yes.
Tell us your thoughts.
That's a little factoid. No, it's not a factoid. It's an actual fact. Is a bit beside the point. It's overshadowed by the fact that we're still having to deal with the corona.
Tell them about it.
Yeah, and now that it's winter time, it
snowed today.
It snowed today. But now that it's winter time, the restrictions are more severe and about to get even more severe. Probably.
It's such severity.
Severity. And yeah, so we're
queer. We're
holding
here.
In there.
Deal with it.
Exactly. We're holding in. No.
We're holding on our farts for 2022.
Yeah. Poison farts. You're the poison farts.
Don't fart yet. 360 days to go.
Happy New. Mass casualties in several places around the globe.
No, it's gonna be called COVID 2021, but written with a K and an A. Cavid 21. Global pandemic induced by farts. Yeah, what did you want to say? Hold in. What's the expression?
We were holding up, or we're hanging in there.
We're hanging in there, yeah. Exactly, yeah. And as you can see, I'm trying to grow like a pedo beard. Yeah, in honor of our last video, the pedophilia one. Was that the last one?
Yeah, that was the last one.
Since then, we've both been growing, as you can see in Alex's face. Alex actually had it before already, so it's not inspired by anything.
We're taking the political correctness of jokes seriously now, because you're only allowed to joke about certain things if you're if you are that thing or affected by that thing. So we are allowed to joke about pedophilia.
Yeah, because we did a piece on it. Piece of shit.
Yeah. Probably.
Yeah, well, Alex, what beer are you drinking? I'm drinking this one.
In honor of today's topic, Beiruther from hell.
Whoa. Grolsch. From beer.
Grolsch.
Skal. I think that's my favorite beer right now, actually. My favorite beer. Grolsch right now, I think. It changes, nowadays it changes quite often and quite regularly, but right now it's Grolsch.
Because you're a flaky kind of guy, right?
Yeah, I'm flaky, I'm floopy.
floppy.
No, but considering beer, I think I've been too dogmatic in the past, and my number one is
Now you're trying to be more catmatic, right?
no, actually pigmatic.
Pigmatic. Good point.
Thanks.
Anyway,
Oh.
what is our topic today?
Well,
What do we want to discuss?
you proposed this topic, and I was head over heels right away because my head is always above my heels. So I guess it's you proposed this topic, and I thought it was a good thing to talk about because it's actually always current, and it's well, nowadays at least, and it's always need to talk about this. But it's been there's a lot of problems in the communication about this topic, and the topic we're talking about is
the conversation is quite toxic about this.
the conversation is quite toxic.
Yeah.
The topic is Islam versus the West. So we what we want to do right now is to start a war against Islam. We want to no, I'm just kidding.
Well, against Islam, kind of.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
the one point we want to drive home is that this is explicitly about the religion / ideology, the idea behind Islam, and well, some people might ask, what do you mean by the Islam, or whatever they want to say. The Islam.
Do they talk like that?
Exactly. Like that. Yeah.
What do you mean by the Islam?
And well, we're going to also address that.
Yeah.
But yeah, this thing was prompted again by, or reignited as a current topic, following the beheading of French school teacher Samuel Paty, or what his name was. I think Samuel Paty, October of the last year, and yeah, as a result of this, France took a stricter course against Islam in France. In my opinion, took a very, at least in terms of their rhetoric, a very good approach, talking about how the right to blaspheme or actually just draw cartoons is more fundamental than not being offended, and how the Muslim community is in need of embracing liberal values, enlightenment values.
Yeah, there's a lot to take in right away. You basically covered almost everything in that little speech you held there. Thanks for that speech.
We're going to have to get into a lot here as well, so but I want to give it a very kind of colloquial introduction, so everyone knows the range of topics we're going to cover a little. Yeah. So yeah.
So should we start talking about the whole topic, the whole caricature thing? Obviously, you talked about the teacher Samuel Paty, or whatever, however you pronounce his name, and he was showing these cartoons in his lectures, and that is the reason why he was beheaded, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
He, in the topic about free speech and what the right to offend and stuff like that, or as a discussion, as an open thing, not even being a proponent of it in any real way. So, but even if he was,
that's actually not even necessary
relevant
to know. Yeah, it's not relevant. Yeah, it is crazy that that can happen actually, and I have to confess, I would not draw Muhammad. But only because of fear. I could draw the dude and look at it and whatever, but I would not post it online because I would fear for my life. And that actually pretty much sums up the situation in which we live in. It feels like that there's absolutely unnecessary fear in that silly little window of media. Basically, if you draw a cartoon of somebody who is a holy person to another person, you have the right to be killed. Or you should be.
Or you have to.
You should be
have
killed.
the fear to be killed. No, not even.
You deserve death, basically.
Even if the ideology aside right now, just the fact that you have to plausibly fear it is already an outrage.
It's crazy.
I mean, it's one thing if you know that some people believe that, but the fact that it affects you concretely. And people might ask, why would you even do that, huh? Why would you have to provoke that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it's actually really a stupid question. You know, of course, why? That's a question where you can ask, but to ask it in that situation, you know, it does seem like you knew what you were getting yourself into by drawing that. You knew you shouldn't draw that thing. You can draw anything but that. That is the limit. That is out of bounds. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think of a reality like that. Why should this be out of bounds? This specific thing. It doesn't make it any special in any way. The only thing that makes it more special is you have to fear to die after doing it. Basically.
Yeah. To still man that position a little bit, it's most people are going to think that it's completely abhorrent that people would kill for such a thing, but thinking about why one would even think that it's necessary to draw cartoons, they could just say don't draw the cartoons and then everything is fine. But that's also one central problem in there's one central problem in this line of thinking, in that conceding by saying, okay, we will never draw Muhammad or draw any other unapproved of depiction of Islam, is that another religion dictates what the non-believer how the non-believer has to act. It's kind of a theocratic tendency, and that has no place in a world where we're supposed to be free and have rights.
Yeah, that's true. But how exactly did you steelman the argument right now? I didn't get the steelmanning.
The steelman isn't that they think it's okay to do it, but that we should just then accept that this is how people react and act accordingly.
It's okay to kill? Or what do you mean by okay to do it?
No, it's not okay to kill, but kind of avoid the topic by just not drawing the cartoons. So there's an easy solution to never being killed because of it is by never drawing them.
Okay, I see. Yeah.
But by conceding to that, you basically give up a important freedom, specifically because the reaction, the outrage, is completely unproportional to the deed. By drawing, the fact of drawing something cannot plausibly lead to someone being killed, or punished in any severe way.
No, of course not. That's
it can be criticized for it, but not in any way.
It actually, if you boil it down to the basics, it's somebody losing their life, or somebody stops living because they drew. They dragged the pencil in a certain motion, and the construct of those pencil lines became something. Maybe the caricature wouldn't even have worked if there wasn't the title Muhammad under it. I don't know.
Yeah, you draw a stick figure, and then there's nothing there, but then you add the word Muhammad on the top, and then
then you have sacrifice yourself, basically.
Yeah.
It's silly. It's silly when you boil it down to the bare things that the deeds actually are. Somebody loses their life over some lines that have been drawn. And
so I think it's therefore pretty more than uncontroversial. It's and undisputable or self-evident, so to say, that even though this happens only once every few years or a few times to tens of people a year, let's say, so hardly any people are affected really. It's important to keep driving this point home that this is that we draw a line at or on the side of the freedom of drawing the cartoons always. Always when a thing like this happens, you should just be on that side automatically.
Yeah, definitely.
You can make a lot worse drawings and wouldn't even justifies this kind of action.
No, yeah. What would you like say?
So,
continue.
No, I just thought maybe we should also go into a little bit into, for example, a little bit of the history of Mohammed cartoons.
Okay.
In the recent history, and also why Muslims are so offended by this.
Okay, go on.
We're saying that it's an present topic, so to say. It's always current.
Yeah. And
basically, the first time, really in this millennium, that it became really, or post 9/11, that became really apparent or current. This topic was when a Danish newspaper, Jyllands-Posten or whatever they were called, published a series of Mohammed cartoons in 2005.
Yeah.
And it didn't really blow up initially, but after a few Muslim leaders talked about this, and one even added other caricatures to the list, which were a lot more insulting, like a praying Muslim being taken from behind by a dog because it was kneeling down like the front, and this sparked a mass outrage in all over the Muslim world, and riots or demonstrations, or so to say, where hundreds of people died, or around 100 people died, and all in all.
Yeah. And
embassies were attacked and stuff like that. Danish embassies or other European ones as well, I think.
Okay.
So that was one place where we saw for the first time that this is a big deal for some people. To some people, that you just draw a mere cartoon, and this is a real issue now. And interestingly, all the major religious leaders of the world, like the Archbishop of Canterbury or the Pope or something like that, they all argued along the lines of, we shouldn't offend other people's religious sensitivities. So, but because there wasn't really a one dedicated person being killed, like targeted in a concrete way in this. In the wake of all of that, but then 10 years later there was the attacks on Charlie Hebdo in France, which was seen as which was a targeted attack, so to say, and they were there's satire magazine who print lots of unflattering caricatures about all kinds of people and religions. But among them also caricatures of Muhammad and unflattering things about Islam. And this again sparked a big discussion. In that time, the Je suis Charlie thing became trending.
Did you say what happened to them?
They attacked the headquarters and killed 15 people, I think, something like that.
Let's check it
out. Among them, the chief editor and so a big chunk of the workers of the magazine.
It were exactly 12 people were killed.
12 people,
including director Hijab and several other prominent cartoonists.
Okay.
Absolutely crazy.
And this became a very this fueled a bit, I think, also the antipathy towards the Muslim community and the big anti-refugee movements during the refugee crisis, which also happened that year. Or started that year, or at least I would say that's likely contributed to the political climate that ensued from the refugee crisis. That we are reminded that Muslims violence, and this discussion is never taken apart in a good way.
I didn't even know. I didn't even remember that it was in the same year. You're right, 2015. It's crazy. Same year.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So this discussion around this is also so toxic all the time.
Yeah.
Is these discussions always just fuel far right groups because they are the only ones willing to make some points that have a kernel of truth and add in all of the bullshit, and because they're the only one daring to say these things, they have a little bit more credibility than before, and then more people go to them, or they, at least the casual listener. I mean, political rhetoric is usually that the things that the masses are supposed to hear, they are more easily digestible also by the masses, and then they also have their more extreme factions, which are more underground and you don't hear about. But the fact that they become get more mainstream attention is already a problem, which ensues due to this bad discussion culture which we have around this topic.
Yeah. Let's get to that topic next. What when we think about bad discussions or toxic discussion, discussions concerning Islam, and this was before you showed me these clips. I always think of the Ben Affleck appearance on Bill Maher's what is the show called again?
Ben Affleck and Sam Harris, yeah.
They had
a
debate. I guess you could.
Well, actually, Sam Harris was just doing his book tour, and he was just being interviewed for that. Normally, it's the special guest that they invite doesn't interact with the panel who's there as well. That the fact that it's disrupted or escalated like this was also pretty uncommon for the format. Yeah, so it wasn't really supposed to be a debate in any way. But yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, dear audience person, please take a look at it.
If you can. I can't watch it without cringing really, really hard. I mean, myself, I have been like Ben Affleck, definitely, in my life many times, but that doesn't make it's okay, because that guy is way too emotional, and really not listening to what Sam Harris is saying at all. He's really he has his mindset, and he is just repeating this shit all the time, and it's really hard to look at. And the comments under the video are absolutely gold. I have to read some to you. Wait, hold on.
before until you find them, take a look at that video, and
we'll put them in the
if
description.
you agree with Ben Affleck, then you should stay tuned, listen more to this podcast, because we're going to hopefully change your mind about that. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Some of the comments. If Ben Affleck jumped from his ego to his IQ, he wouldn't survive. Really clever. Ben Affleck is like the 5 ladies on The View combined. Ben Affleck reminds me of when I was 15 and I thought I had good arguments.
And those are pretty fitting.
Yeah. After listening to Ben rant, I realized I'm kind of a genius myself. Yeah. Yeah, well, the to summarize what Ben Affleck is actually saying there, he's saying it is racist to be or bigoted, to racist and bigoted and disgusting to say to. I think what he's trying to say is at least that you're generalizing a whole population of people, which is not what Sam Harris is doing in this video. He's as you pointed out in the beginning of this video, which we are in right now. He's criticizing the religion itself. Yeah. Yeah,
but he's also talking about the level of adherence to certain aspects of Islam, because most Muslims really don't adhere to the Quran or the Hadiths, which is a great thing.
Yeah.
They are, like most Christians and most Jews and whatever, like only nominally religious.
Well, so, at least in the Western world, but I don't think that.
Yeah. In majority Islamic countries, it's actually not true.
Yeah, this is not true.
Fact even. And if you think we're exaggerating, just look it up from a source which doesn't try to debunk this, but from some actual unbiased source. Yeah. You will find that it's probably true.
Yeah.
That in majority Muslim countries,
you can tell it from the laws they have there. Well, we'll get to the laws.
Yeah, but that's
later.
The thing. Yeah. Like countries like Iran, for example, there are apparently population is majority non-Muslim. They have a very strong. There's a large population which is really anti-Islam.
Really?
Due to the very strict laws that the government has passed and introduced. So
that's interesting.
It's Iran, as a country, is also not equal to the governments of. So looking at governments alone is sometimes misleading.
Okay.
But there have been polls done in various countries and asked about views on certain topics.
Not by the government.
Like cutting the hands of thieves, stoning adulterers, what happens to ex-Muslims.
Yeah.
Because they and other non-believers, and what should happen if you insult the Prophet, and what they think about suicide bombing, and stuff like that. And the answers were not that reassuring, to say the least.
Not that reassuring.
There have been claims from lefties on this, which I'm also part of, but from the left side of the spectrum, that if you'd ask Christians these questions, you would also find very disheartening answers. But I don't. This is I think just a claim on that they make without having backed up it in any way.
Mm-hmm.
But if that were the case, we would also criticize that and make sure that this influence doesn't get in there. And we see in our laws, for example, that religion doesn't have this influence. So, okay, we have if the Christians of the world think something, it doesn't have wide-reaching consequences, as you can see here. yeah. I mean, the thing is also, the West isn't Christian. That's one thing we should also always. We shouldn't view the values we have as Christian values. This is a thing that the right and the left like to do a lot. The right because they're so proud of the Christian heritage, and the left because they see this as a driving factor of why we believe in things like freedom, like a little bit of a cultural relativist approach. That it's just from our perspective, our Christian perspectives, that we believe in these values. And from other perspectives, which are just as valid, you can believe in other things. And so both want to insist that we're Christian, but this is everything good that we have come is from our liberation from Christianity.
Exactly. That's something that people really don't mention that often somehow. I mean, that's one important thing that we experience as a Christian in this Christian-dominated area of the world from the past. I mean, that
historically Christian
Islamic people have not really experienced, or at least
not for a long time, only for short periods of time in some pockets.
Yeah, like in the 1920s, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something. It's an evolutionary process that they have not had the privilege to really experience fully yet.
And yeah, we're saying this from the perspective that we think these values are superior to theocratic values.
Yeah.
And so.
How dare we?
We'll probably.
How dare we, Alex?
Yeah.
Explain me that.
We're so. Arrogant.
Our heads are so deep our own asses, we can look out of our own eyes.
Wow, how poetic!
I wrote that line for what was Will Smith's son called again? Jaden Smith. He's got many of those dope eye openers, head scratchers. I with respect.
Yeah, I envy his mind.
Yes, definitely.
But that's also a point we have to point out, is that many of the things that Muslims do, or Islamic terrorists do, is a consequence of an interpretation of the holy books, and a pretty straightforward basic interpretation. You don't have to do a lot of mental gymnastics to get these messages out of it.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of those those things. When you talk about belief or religion and scriptures, the way you would interpret these scriptures, it's always this dilemma that somehow exists. Either you take it word for word as it's written there and do no interpretation, just read it and do it as it says, basically, because it's God's word after all, and He is infallible. Or you make your own interpretation of it, and in that case, it doesn't matter anyway, because if everybody can make their own interpretation of that shit, what is real and what isn't, and if it's that arbitrary, it's weird that people believe in it at all.
Yeah, well, I think there's some wisdom instilled in it that you get through your vision when you interpret it in your way, and God has put that. It's those kinds of explanations are then given to show that it's somehow still a guiding book, but only by your interaction with it, because God has given you a particular set of lenses to read the book with, something like that.
But if
you can always make up some
God
shit.
did that, why did He do it differently with other people to create some drama, or what was his intention?
Because of free will, Niko. Free will. Free will. Free will explains everything. Well, free will is not always a really shit argument, but it's a very popular argument whenever you point out that why would God do it this inefficiently, like, and why would He create these kinds of people, and what, blah, blah, blah. And free will.
Yeah, exactly, free will. That means people. He's all knowing and almighty. He knew everybody would do that from before. He's all knowing. So that he purposefully sent people to hell just to see how it is, see how to handle
Calvinists actually believe that. Calvinists actually believe that exactly that some people are just destined to hell.
Oh, no way! Well,
yeah.
I can respect that in the way, in a certain way, that they are really honest. That actually makes sense in a lot more sense than to say, well, you have to experience this thing with God, and then you will finally know the true essence of being a Muslim or Christian or whatever. Yeah, that actually makes more sense.
To the general, there's a rebuttal I heard to the thing that if you read the text and you'll get this reading, a counterpoint to that or a contradiction to that is they have this kind of a constructivist approach that a text only means whatever the people who read it think it means, which is on the surface sounds correct. Like when you try to communicate something, then what you communicated is what the people understood in the end.
Yeah.
But I think you can draw this thought. This thought pattern or thought process too far. It leads to absurdities some way. I mean, intuitively that there's some proportionality in kinds of understanding things. If you say hello, it doesn't mean I want to kill you.
Yeah.
In any realistic way.
That's true.
So, but you can maybe try to argue that away. But I would say that a text still has some underlying meaning, and I would just point to one book and dare them to say that that also has whatever meaning you want it to have, and that's the manifesto by this a nice Austrian guy that we know from the 20th century.
You mean Mein Kampf? Did I say a buzzword?
Dare them to tell them that it's how you want to interpret this
Alex,
book.
that's actually brilliant. Did you come up with that with yourself?
No, I got it from this Armin Navabi guy who also sent you. Yeah.
No way.
And
yeah, well, that's a
good point.
That's a really clever point. Yeah, but
because
apart from that, also, if it really is true that the thing that the scripture means is that what you think it means when you read it, I completely paraphrase what you said right now. I think what you said back then. I think, but that essence, if that essence is to be taken seriously, I only think you can take it seriously in like poems and artful literature. I don't think you can apply that to scriptures and words that are supposed to give you rules to live by. It's way too sketchy to say, okay, well, you can interpret that way and that way. If it's rules, it needs to be very specific. Otherwise, you will do it wrong. It's like
then you can get into the back to this esoteric kind of stuff. You don't need to invoke God even. You can say that, if there's some deep wisdom in it, then you can intuitively feel it by reading it correctly.
But that's not true, though. That's not true.
No, that's not true. I would also say that's not true. You can't intuit truth. You can only find out truth by testing stuff. Yeah. Some people might disagree, but I don't think that like objective truth, things that guide common actions and stuff like that are included in this. That you can get there any other way than like scientific method kind of stuff, like testing hypotheses and stuff like
You
that.
can't get there any other way. You said.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's how I think as well. I have the same feelings. Yeah.
Yeah. So the fact that Islam as an ideology has this big a stranglehold on communities and populations and people is something that we are kind of morally obligated to speak about and call out and try to dismantle.
Yeah.
Because in the end, by not doing it, exactly those people who need us the most, the Muslims, are let down. Because if they have no... I mean, you could try to let them do it on their own, so to say, but that's just causes needless suffering. It's not. This has nothing to do with Western superiority or some crap like that. It just has to do with realizing that everyone has basic human rights, and we should help them whenever they don't.
Yeah, exactly. And
yeah, those who suffer most from from Islam are Muslims. That's one thing we also have to keep in mind. It's not us poor Westerners who have to worry the most. It's the Muslims themselves.
Yes, exactly, and that includes, of course, every single Muslim, of course, but that includes women, homosexuals, people who
especially minorities within the minorities. So to say.
Minorities within the minorities. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and some of the videos we watched. And I actually watched one of these videos before you showed me this, because I stumbled across that same YouTube channel as well, and it concerned the hijab in Western cultures, or basically that it's a symbol of feminism or freedom that you.
Yeah. And many Muslim feminists, as they call themselves, that promote hijab as a symbol of empowerment.
Yeah, and they go through great deals of mental gymnastics to explain it. It is actually kind of crazy, but it seems to always boil down to you're free to wear whatever you want, but you're not free to not wear it, because God says you shouldn't, and God makes the rules. And it's kind of, it's saying, yeah, you're free to do whatever you want, but you're not.
It's kind of saying that there is marriage equality, because before a gay marriage was allowed, because a gay person can marry another woman, so he is allowed to marry. It's kind of like that.
Exactly, yeah, that's true. That's a good analogy. I thought it was I saw this one video where this feminist YouTuber who does all these sex ed videos, forgot how she was called, but she had this interview with this Western Muslim feminist, and that was also dissected by the same person from the Atheist YouTube channel.
Genetically modified skeptic.
Exactly, that guy. And
shout out.
I didn't even know Muslims had feminists who actually... I thought Muslim feminists were people who try to reach a more secular world, not people who try to enforce these crazy restricting laws.
Well, yeah, well, they think it is empowering. And, I mean, the most straightforward way, if you're allowed to choose exactly what you want to wear, and if you want to wear that, you can wear that.
Definitely.
Exactly. Whoa.
Definitely.
No brainer, but the point is, this is not an
option.
Choice. This is a choice that either if they are kind of very strongly pushed to wear one, or they are outright forced to wear one. So either the culture says that it's frowned upon, as Ross would say, but it's not illegal.
Yeah.
It's that it's basically just they're forced to wear it. It's not really it's hardly ever a situation where they actually decide freely.
Can't be a freedom if you can't choose it freely. There's no freedom in that. And how is that
even
feminist?
the underlying idea behind it is always this kind of modesty culture thing, which is also a problem of its own. It's a completely weird way of looking at how one should behave in the world.
You mean?
I mean,
by
the idea of modesty.
You mean by covering oneself up and not being sexual?
Not revealing too much of yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I agree with that. But that's why don't you agree with it though? Just to be just out of interest.
You don't show modesty that way. It's like a peacock's tail kind of thing. It's a completely unproportional way of showing a value that you might be valuable, like modesty. I mean, certain types of modesty have very good values, like not being too arrogant about your skills and pushy or whatever, that kind of stuff. But the good things about modesty are not reflected in you covering yourself up. And if you think if your interpretation of modesty is that it does involve that, then then you have to show how it does that. I just don't see how that has really anything to do with modesty. And so you're restricting yourself unnecessarily. That's why I think you're creating needless misery for yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
This genetically modified skeptic dude. He also had this video about people who are ex-Muslims and now have become ex-Muslim or atheist activists. And some of the things they said were really interesting. One person was from Canada, and she said when she was a certain age, she said she doesn't want to wear the hijab anymore. And this is a family living in Canada, not a family living in Saudi Arabia or whatever. And the parents threatened to kill her and disown her, and that's how her view of the hijab was dealt with. And it doesn't need to be far away to be a really threatening, kind of life-threatening problem. And these things apparently also happen in Western civilizations.
Yeah.
Something I wouldn't have really have. I mean, yeah, sure, I would have expected that those things to happen now that I think of it, but it's still shocking somehow.
Yeah. I mean, I think we have made clear that, maybe not shown it with facts and figures, but made clear that we think that this is also not just a minority thing happening. This is the common thread most of the time. This is not the exception, but more like the rule. But even that aside, we could now be criticized by what point is there in always just talking about this from the outside, like from our ivory tower, and just look at their problems. This is a big problem, but just being here, sitting and talking about this and always just agreeing with each other that this is bad won't help the people who need the help. So we should try to also befriend Muslims in our communities and converse with them exactly about these things. Have respectful dialogues with them and show exactly the fine line between, not the fine line, but that's criticism of their religion. Fine line, exactly. That there's show that criticism of their ideology and their religion doesn't mean that you don't respect their rights, that you're bigoted against them, that you can't be their friends. and that's
Yeah.
because only then will the seed of doubt be of the inerrancy of their religion be set there, and the process of freeing themselves from their religion can begin in the first place.
Alex, do you think this same thing applies to Nazis too? The way to how to deal with Nazis is to befriend them and basically try to converse with them and plant doubt in their heads.
In anticipation of outrage for the comparison.
Yeah.
I would say that
how can you compare those two? That's what he would say. No.
Exactly, that's what I would say.
But the scenario is kind of samey, right? Okay, let's not say it's Nazis. Let's say people who are leaning very hard, very much to the right political spectrum, and certainly have some kind of racist views.
Well, yeah, we are belong probably to the best candidates of people who could convince them.
Really, we foreigners?
Well, yeah, we foreigners, but I mean, people like us who don't have to deal with racism and or who aren't exactly the targets of the people.
Yeah, we could. I mean, we could pass as Germans, right? And if they ask me what my weird accent is, I say I come from the little valley of the mountains of Pitzpalu or something. And then I order 3 beers, and then they kill me.
And three beers. But I shoot his balls off. Balls.
So you're Til Schweiger? You just said it. You're Til Schweiger. You just said that. And I'm Steve Jobs.
I'm the richest man. I know I have the most
money. Direct quote from Til Schweiger. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, most people think of themselves as good people. They don't think they're evil, so they are usually only mistaken if they believe in bad things. So in general,
your camera makes crazy effects.
Yeah, I've seen. What's wrong with the camera? Well, we'll have to.
Yeah, we'll
live with this. I think
we can still hear you, and it's kind of eye pleasing as well. Let's put some vaporwave on, and then we'll watch the rest of the clip like this. Sing something, yeah. Alex.
Think.
Sing.
Nothing. And I think. No.
Where were we?
Usually a good idea to converse and not to, because that's the only alternative to violence. And yeah, of course, people who are wrong. I mean, there are people who have such fundamentally mistaken views about things and how about facts. So they think things are facts which aren't facts. Like there's this giant conspiracy or whatever that would need lots of work, and they probably are shielded. Like they're like real fundamentalists who of any religion that you probably would never reach either. But like normal people who have a few wrong ideas. I mean, in a way, if you take Islam to heart, it's also kind of a far right ideology. So it's
yeah, it is.
It's I mean, if you talk to ex-Muslims and Muslim reformers, they would agree to that. It's not some propaganda speaking right now. So whenever you converse with a person who you find out has bad views, then you should investigate and see how they get to that idea always, and only if it becomes very stressful or violent, then you should try to, or is about to become, then you should back off or whatever. I mean, shouting at them would definitely not change anything.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the energy to converse with them, then yeah, it's not your obligation to do that either.
No, that's true.
But
I watched these other videos you sent me as well. These what is it called? Armin
Navabi.
Navabi. Should we be able to criticize? Should we be able to criticize Islam? And the answers, God damn. And this was in Pakistan, in Bangladesh. Is he from Bangladesh?
No, he's Iranian, but I think that was in Canada.
Oh, no way. Okay. I wasn't sure. Maybe it says in the description. Let's see.
And yeah.
No, Sydney.
But the interesting.
It's in Sydney.
Australia. Okay, then that was during a tour then.
Yeah.
Something. Because he lives in Canada.
He lives in Canada. Okay. Yeah. Suppose if Islam dominates the world. Yeah, that's the plan. God damn. God damn.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that idea should definitely die. That any religion should be should dictate the laws of the land. I mean, theocracies are bad.
Either Islam or death. That one as well, right?
Yes.
Okay. How about either hijab or death? Anything or death, basically, right? We can cross that.
Life or death? No, life or death. I think.
Life or death. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and but see, yeah, that was interesting when he in that video. But he also talked. Some people he could just with after a few inquisitive questions get to admit that certain things. I mean, there was this one guy who with the brother of the guy who invited him to the restaurant to eat, who became really outraged about insulting the Prophet and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was kind of scary to watch, actually. We can put all the stuff into the descriptions. All of those videos.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, it was nice to see that. I mean, of course, most Muslims you will talk to will not become violent, be violent against you. They will talk to you peacefully, and they will be very friendly people. You will notice that they will just have very mistaken views about things, and that's due to the influence of the of the holy books. They believe that they are inerrant. They are from God directly. They guide how you should behave.
Yeah. Okay. Alex, let's come to the next topic. And this is also a topic discussed in the videos you sent me. Secular. Is it a sensible idea to try to secularize Islam rather than to abolish?
Reform, you mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Reform or abolish, exactly. Yeah. That's what I also wanted to get to in the end. Now.
Yeah.
I think then we have covered most.
Yeah,
points.
I think that would be it as well. And we're already an hour in right now, I think.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, we could talk about the arguments for both and then give our views a little bit. I mean, the goal should be that to dismantle the ideology which gives people the motivation to commit things like stoning people for adultery or blasphemy or whatever, or beheading people for that, or throwing gays off roofs or whatever. any part of the ideology that leads him to these conclusions, they should be abolished and gotten rid of. And how do you do that? If you want to, do you want to reinterpret the whole thing, or do you want to just stab holes into the whole into the whole fabric until it collapses for the people? So dismantle skepticism, doubt, stuff like that. The thing with the main point for reform is basically that it seems easier to convince people to reinterpret some part of their books than to convince them of becoming non-believers as a whole.
That's what Maajid Nawaz also said. It's easier to secularize them than to make 1.6 billion people atheists or something like that.
But I think that's a false comparison in a way, because it's not. The idea is not to either reform or completely abolish. If you're talking about short-term or mid-term strategies, to reform or put enough doubt into their heads that they are not willing to commit certain violent acts. So you don't have to convince them completely that there is no God or Islam is false. You just have to put enough doubt in their heads that they wouldn't do these any kinds of acts.
Yeah.
It's a bit like for veganism. You don't have to convince people that animals deserve certain rights or stuff like that to show that given factory farming, you should not consume animal products. Or general animal agriculture, given how it is.
I also took that comparison actually to veganism, but I made it a bit differently. I thought it's easier to it would be easier and more profitable for the world to make people realize that it's better to eat less meat than to make everybody eat no meat at all or animal products at all. Yeah,
but I think you can instill the idea that like just staying with the animals or vegan analogy, that it's wrong to kill animals the way we do. The way we do, and therefore, or environmental reasons that you can get them actually to completely give up meat. I could and abolish the idea of that it's kind of okay to kill animals like this.
Mm-hmm.
Then and you would get the same effect of people being vegan, and you would have an even bigger impact than just getting them to eat less meat. And then they would still eat meat maybe for a longer time even, because they think, well, this amount of meat is morally acceptable. Something like that.
Okay, I see, yeah.
It's not clear whether the one strategy is better or the other, I would say.
So the same thing with the reforming of Islam as well.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, well, I guess you're right. I do think that I know that I don't know as much about this topic than Maajid Nawaz knows, but his reasoning seems pretty solid actually, and I if we could get Islam to where Christianity is right now, that would be a shit load of greatness in improvement, I think.
Yeah, but we also have the phenomenon that Christianity is hardly adhered to anymore. I mean, a big chunk of the Western world is non-believing nowadays.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true, but that's true. Not on paper, though. Not on paper.
Not on paper, necessarily. At least in places where there is a state church, or where it's common that you're automatically baptized.
Yeah.
Because then they just stay there because it's more convenient most of the time.
Yeah, well, if you
I
look
think,
at like Poland, countries like Poland and Italy, it definitely. I don't think it's the same amount of non-believers there, like as is in Sweden or.
No, that's true.
Maybe here, I don't know. What do you think is the atheist population in percentage in Germany?
I would guess like something like 40, maybe.
Really, that much?
I would guess, yeah. 40%. I don't think it's unrealistic. Maybe even past the halfway mark, 50% mark.
I think if everybody would be really honest to themselves, you know, if everybody was forced to be honest to themselves, and you ask them tricky questions, for example, if they believe in certain trademarks from Christianity, and then they actually realize that they don't believe in all that stuff. And the stuff they believe in is actually not Christian at all. I think the percentage of people who are believers in Germany they believe in something that they created themselves in their heads. You know, that's their own kind of God and something. I believe in a higher power. I believe in some kind of deity. But I don't. I'm not a Christian. I don't go to church and stuff like that. But if many people were honest to themselves, I think maybe we would actually reach the 50% goal. I want to say, but yeah, it actually is a goal. Yeah.
Yeah.
You may be right. Yeah, 50% could be.
I would, therefore I would say that it's the fact that Christianity has such little influence is not only that Christians don't take their Bible so seriously, it's also that there are less Christians. Of course, these democratic values or the constitutions of most countries that we in the Western world that have these democratic values instilled in them were written in times where there was still a lot more religiosity. So, in a kind of way, there must have been a way to square their religiosity with secularism before, and so it must be also possible for Muslims, and it is for many as well anyway already. But like the mainstream. But I don't think it's all too clear. Or I would put it like this: their willingness to go to secularism is proportional to the amount of influence Christianity has on them. So they
Muslims.
Generally religious people. Like now for the Western world, secularism grew as the influence of religion diminished. It's not that they were just as religious and they just became more secular. It's also that they became more and more doubtful of the concepts or the stories and the things said in the Bible.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't know if it's just reform, reinterpretation, or if it's doubt as a whole. And I think the one is the reform thing, and the one is the abolition of the religion itself. It's a slow process, but
that would be a dream world, a dream come true. But you know, it would never be 0% ever, never ever.
Never say never, but yeah.
Yeah, well,
so
maybe if we all died out and no evidence of Islam was left anymore, then there would not be anything like Islam in the future. But there would be different kinds of beliefs and religions. Because
it's hard to say.
Yeah, well, come on.
If it's still humans, but if it's some kind of other species, then I don't know how they evolve.
Let's say every single person dies except the babies, and they somehow miraculously are able to live to become adults and they have to recreate society.
Why don't we just do memory wipe instead of killing all people?
Yeah, okay, yeah, memory wipe. Yeah. If it's still humans.
Kill everyone except the babies. They miraculously. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Yeah.
then they,
but yeah,
if they would have to try to recreate everything again, you know, their wisdom and their knowledge of everything, they would sooner or later come to all the scientific truths back again, same as they were before. Ricky Gervais said this in an interview once.
yeah.
And all the religious books, they would be different. Oh,
Yeah.
Different.
I mean, they would be adapted to their circumstances that they had.
Yeah.
That's how religions mostly evolve.
If we do a memory wipe and we still have all the stuff here right now, I think somebody would. Well, you would at least get a lot faster to the real truth we have right now than, let's say, we started from scratch again, because we have buildings and we have cars. Somebody would know how to put the key into the ignition or something like that, and that's
What's this?
But that would be
they will probably first try to put their penises in the ignition.
they would probably. I think the first thing they would try is to go to the nuclear bombs and set them off. That's the first thing
What's
that they
this?
would do. What's this? Let's pee on it.
I
Let's put
feel
a
drawn
penis
to
in it.
that.
I feel attracted to the atom bomb. Let's put my penis into it. I like mushrooms.
One final bang. Yeah.
Big
But
bang.
yeah, to get back to the original thing. So the problem with first the process of making people irreligious is a slow process. It's not
Irreligious, is that a real word?
Yeah.
Really? Not unreligious?
No, irreligious.
Whoa. Why?
It sounds cooler.
Is it true?
I don't know.
Are you fucking around?
Irreligious.
Okay.
No, it's
Unreligious.
I've
heard unreligious before though. Okay. Sorry. Go on.
The process of making people irreligious is a gradual one. So it's reforming is also gradual. It's not like the comparison making people all of a sudden atheists overnight. It's like convincing people overnight that the Quran means something completely different. Those are the two comparisons, and they are both very unlikely and hard to say which ones are worse, which one's more hard. And the problem with reform is always that it's always involved with severe mental gymnastics and cherry picking, or you go to this very vague thing like it's the meta narrative of this whole text, and you see what the central message, the guides this rote Faden, I don't know.
You're
and
right.
Then, but those
that kind of
those
thinking, if that has an influence on the way people think in general, or reform Muslims think in general, you have to spin that off into the rest of society as well somehow, for them to fully kind of believe that. And it's
people are going to either think that
what kind of society that creates.
Yeah, probably people are either going to think that cherry picking and like mental gymnastics are a valid way of thinking, or if the religion stays relevant but only in the reformed interpretation way, then there are bound to be people who see that, hey, well, this is bullshit reading. That doesn't even that makes no sense to read it like this, and they go back to the old reading.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, and I'm not sure. Well, it hasn't happened for Christianity that they went completely back ever, but there were always like sects that strayed off.
Yeah.
But I mean, for the mainstream Christianity, it hasn't happened. But that may also be something that's a consequence of the things that are said in the Bible. It may be very different for the Quran. It may be a lot harder to do it for the Quran.
Yeah.
I'm claiming no expertise because I don't know the Bible or the Quran by heart in any way. But
You don't know it by heart? What kind of human are you?
I only know that God bless America.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. One nation.
Under God.
Under God. Indistinguishable by a mouse. No, how does it go?
Is this America or is this America?
Cheese? Cheese? We mice, we only eat cheese. And dogs, they only eat bones. And cats, they only eat fish and mice.
Lasagna. And
And Garfield is lasagna.
Yeah. Lasagna.
The favorite food of a dog is a bone. That's the favorite food. That's what I thought as a kid.
Delicious. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And I thought grass, green plus no color equals white. That's how cows make milk. Water
Exactly.
plus grass.
Yeah.
And I think the consequences of this reform is things that mental gymnastics and cherry picking become get this false sense of validity as ways of thinking. Conversely, applying skepticism and doubt and stuff like that to religion normalizes these kinds of thinking, which are good ways of thinking actually, like having a skeptical approach, trying to figure out what's right and what's wrong and stuff like that with good arguments. So for me, the strategy is pretty clearly the put the seed of doubt into religious people and not to just try to maybe you can read the book like this. I mean, I'm not a religious person myself, so I couldn't even do that.
You never really were,
But, yeah.
were you? Well, maybe in primary school,
Yeah,
elementary
it's hard
school.
to say because as you kind of always also believe because you thought you had to believe.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Because that was the right thing to do.
I had
You believe that's what
I
you
did believe in something. I must have, because I had my own prayer. I created my own prayer. I don't know if we talked about this last year when we said Christmas without God or something. What the one episode where we said Christmas without God or something, right?
Yeah.
Christmas without religion.
Maybe.
No, fasting
Celebrating
without
Christmas.
religion.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I think I said that as well in that episode, but I had my own prayer until I was 20, I think, which I created for myself because I didn't kind of believe in the Christian God because I couldn't have, because I didn't really understand what he was. Because the thing what God really is, as he is depicted in the Bible, I only learned after I wasn't religious anymore. To be quite fair.
We weren't really religiously raised
no.
in any way.
Luckily.
So, it's. I mean, if you talk about like this, Armin Navabi has a channel called Atheist Republic. Shout out. And he he's also working on helping ex-Muslims in particular, but also from other countries, flee from their countries if they are in imminent danger. But they also have talked about their experiences as being brought up religiously. I mean, did you watch that interview of his?
Was it an interview?
Kind of, right?
The 2 parts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw all. I
but
think I saw all of your videos.
Yeah, his story about how he thought he could escape hell by killing himself as a child.
Exactly, that's crazy.
Stuff like that.
That blew my mind. Blew my fucking mind. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he felt so bad. I mean, that's the humanity seeping through.
Yeah, definitely.
And that he didn't try it again, and then he after so the background was there that before the age of reason, which is 15, as it was taught for boys, and 9 for girls. Of course, it's younger for girls because they are apparently already ready to have kids by that age. I don't know. I mean, Aisha, Muhammad's second wife, was 6 when they got married, but he waited until she was 9 until they consummated it. So he was stand-up guy.
He was a good guy, yeah.
But I actually had a discussion with
Thanks,
a Muslim about that on the. Teach me the ways. I actually had a discussion with a Muslim about that on the internet.
Yeah, you told me about it. Yeah, tell the audience about that conversation.
Yeah, basically his point was, it doesn't say 9. It says when she reached puberty. Okay, when you reach puberty, you're not adult yet. How do you know? Her parents and everyone around her said she was very mature for her age. And if the parents say she's ready, then she's ready. So, and yeah, no. It was infuriating. And his the evidence that he demanded for me to show that she wasn't an adult was to show that there was never any human in history who was not an adult when she reached puberty. So, and which was like a kind of standard that's impossible to meet, and which is also not what you would have to meet to show that you can assume that 13-year-olds.
You have to show that nobody ever
in the existence of humanity was an adult when she reached puberty.
Okay, yeah, that's what you have to show. Yeah.
And that may even nowadays it could happen if you're like severely malnourished, or not even just severely, but malnourished during your teen years, that puberty onset is delayed, and I don't know if it is delayed all the way to till the age of 18 necessarily. I don't know how long you can delay it until it forces itself through or whatever. But yeah, you can definitely delay puberty. Maybe that way you can be 18 and reach puberty. That was Aisha was malnourished until she was 18.
Yeah, different times back then, Alex. You don't know. You just don't know. Yeah. You didn't. Were you there? Did you see it? No. So
that's also a thing that was said. You're judging people from that time by modern standards, and which is a valid point when you talk about merely fallible humans. But we are talking about Muhammad, the greatest guy to have ever lived.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So saying that he should have known better is not a stretch.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So. It was a very infuriating discussion.
And you were furious when you left the discussion.
I was furious. Fast and furious.
And blind.
Too fast, too furious.
I mean gay! I mean blind. Blind fury. Gay fury. It's the worst kind of fury. No, just kidding.
Why shouldn't we be happy?
So yeah. I think we've reached the end of our podcast. Have we not?
One final word I would like to say.
Which one word?
Stop using the word. Stop.
Stop.
No, one sentence.
In the name of love.
Stop using the word Islamophobia, please, people. It's a shit word. It just muddies everything up. And it gives people the idea that, criticizing Islam is also bad, which it isn't. No, you can quote Maajid Nawaz as a final thing. I think that's the best thing.
In the world?
He said something like, the best thing in the world.
Okay.
He said, no idea is above scrutiny, no person or no human beneath dignity.
That's the best thing in the world.
That's the best thing in the world. Well, it's a fitting summary. So
I mean it.
Don't forget.
You
mean it?
It is the best thing in the world.
You don't. What about my cool computer effects, video effects? Yeah.
Okay, second best thing in the world.
I have to check out what's wrong with my
You're with your guitar.
camera. My guitar.
I have.
Whoa, we got the same thing going.
Why don't you bash your camera once? Okay, stop now. I just had to hold
Oh, no.
this. I just had to hold this before camera. Then
No, it's still kind of.
yeah. Alex, don't jinx it. Yeah, well, okay, that's a good last quote. I love that. I love it. It really sounds good, and it's very true. So, I think there's nothing left to do but to count down the ending, and we are off.
Shall I go first now?
Yes, you shall.
Dear
Men,
of
women,
of
children,
of
parents.
this is our very final
Muhammad caricature we shall publish. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.